Okay, hi. So we're going to talk about cyanotype. Step 1, so coating the paper. So here are some things you need. You need brushes. So I tend to use these two brushes. So that's a little bit, I would say 1 inch, and this is maybe 2.5 inch. Not really sure, but here's the finger, and so I say 2.5 inch. And then these ones, some people like to do this because it's a bigger surface area, and if you're applying on bigger paper. However, I personally like to have these kind of brush stroke on my images, so I tend to use this one to create these kind of strokes. But it's a personal preference. The bigger brush produce like a smoother line like this. Okay, let me see. Yeah. Okay, so the next thing you would need is, if you don't like brushes, you want to use sponge, you can use that. You need a plate. You would need rubber gloves, especially if you have sensitive hands. And obviously the cyanotype chemicals. So there's this solution, this one comes together. They're powder form, part A and part B. So if you got this one, you would need to mix 200 milliliter water into this, but be careful, it might be a bit less. So, but you want to pour evenly, 200 here and 200 here. If you're going to do 100, make sure it's 100 here and 100 there. Okay, or if you bought the solar fast kit that comes with everything, this is pre-mixed gel. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate these two in this video. Okay, so next thing is, eventually you would need a shoebox of sort that is light proof, so there's no light leak in it. Paper, surface paper, watercolor. These are watercolor paper. You will also need eventually a washing bin or washing tray. Okay, and then the last thing is, you might want to use a board, or I personally like, so I can put the coated paper and then the image on top, use an elastic and wrap it together. Okay, which I'll demonstrate a little later. So here's kind of the materials you need to get started. Now you're ready to coat. I am going to get I'm going to show you 2 different methods. It's up to you which one you like. Get a watercolor paper. And if you don't have steady hands and just want to secure, you might want to just tape painter's tape to the corner. You don't need to if you don't think it's necessary. So I'm just gonna do that for here. I normally don't do this, but you may want to. Then we're gonna mix the chemicals. So you can use a syringe, but I find the syringe gets all over the place. You might want to use an eyedropper. But I'm just gonna eyeball it. You want to make sure half a cup. That's roughly half a cup of solution B. Sorry, not half a cup, half a cap. And then half a cap. Solution A. So just note that once this is mixed together, you probably only have 2 to 4 hours to start mixing or start coating your paper. And make sure you're coating in a room that doesn't have UV rays in, or as little as possible. So sitting next to a window with full sun, it's not a good idea. Okay, so this is sensitive to UV light. So now I'm ready to mix or to coat. So I'm gonna mix it just a little bit more just in case to make sure it's well mixed. Then I'm gonna coat. Some people say you should do this in a Z pattern. I don't notice a difference. So for me, it's just I want to make sure it's coated evenly and there's no pool of water. Okay, so I kind of like these brush stroke lines, so I'm not gonna make it that perfect. Okay. The other thing that you might want to do when you're selecting your brush is make sure you pull your brush before using to make sure fiber doesn't get onto your paper when you're coating, or if the brush comes off easily, you might want to find a different brush. Okay, so these ones are okay. Okay, so this is ready to go into a shoebox. It takes 2 to 4 hours to dry. So let's take this off. So the next method is a little bit more precise. So if you're one of those people that like really precise edges, you might want to use painter's tape and tape the border. Okay. For demonstration, I'm not gonna measure it, but you might want to measure the border and then draw a faint line with a pencil. And then put the painter tapes on top. So I normally do that with my platinum prints, but for cyanotype, I don't actually do this because I actually like that brush stroke. So let's tape it all together. So next I'm going to demonstrate the Solar Fast kit, which is this gel here. Shake it before you're using. And this one I like to just do it directly onto the paper itself or the surface. You can do this on wood or any surface you think might adhere to. I'm going to demonstrate using what you'll do using the sponge that it comes with, or for people that prefer sponge. So you just coat like this. And make sure there's no goop on it. So this is really fast. So coating. Okay, there you have it, you're done. So I will pull the paper off. And then put it in a shoebox and let it dry. It takes 2 to 4 hours to dry like the other one. And when it's dry, you're ready to do step 2. So you do notice that there's a little bit more left. I usually coat 10 images, or it has enough for at least 4 or 5 small surface that you can coat. So I do it all at once. Okay, so we're gonna go into step 2. So this is a print I did earlier, just with the glass and the fish and the organza. If you notice, the organza left this kind of nice little mark on it, and that's why I like using the smaller brush to have these kind of brush strokes, but it's up to you. This was coated or washed with coffee, and then washed and then put in coffee for 4 hours. That's bright sun in the middle of the day. This is 20 minutes on bright sun, but in the afternoon. So notice the difference. And this was only done in 2 minutes. So really experiment and play. You kind of get what you get, and it's different every time. Okay. So these are some of the images done earlier. A little tip. You also might want to write the date for my students. Write the date, the test, saying that it's a test print, what number the test print, how many minutes you expose it to the sun, and at what time. And for the coat, if you coat it with or tinted it with other like dye, natural dye, or coffee, you might want to also write what did you dye it with and how long you dyed it with. Okay, so these are all your test prints, or these are all my test prints. I always write what's on it. Okay, so this is an example where I brushed it a bit too hard during the washing, so be careful with that. Okay, so then we're now into step 3, washing your prints. Step 2. So now that you're ready coated, it's been dry. I took this out of the box, but this was a demonstration for the last class. It was placed on the sun, and you notice there's that little sun mark, so it's starting to develop a little bit, which is okay. So I decided to experiment with bit texture, so I'm gonna get an organza and put that there. And put this on top, or maybe somehow on top like this. If you have glass or access to glass, you might want to press it down like this. This is an option. You don't have to. The more that this is weighted down, the nicer the imprint is, or the harder the line is. So it's really up to you. The thing you do need to notice is make sure the glass is bigger than the coated surface, so it doesn't produce a line. Okay, so this is a bit smaller. If you don't have access to glass, a plexiglass would do, or your picture frame. Take that glass out and then you can put it on top. Just make sure it's not UV protected or coated with a UV protected film. So I kind of like it without glass for this particular one. So now that I'm ready to bake it. If you are putting it with a glass though, you might want to use an elastic or a clip and clip on either side and then bake it that way. Okay, so but I kind of want it loose for this one. So now it's ready to go to the sun.